Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Look, I know you might be going through a tough time right now. Maybe you've recently faced a pretty painful setback, or a door you really wanted to walk through just slammed shut right in your face. It's totally normal to feel stuck, frustrated, or honestly just kind of lost. Believe me, we have all been there. So think of me as a sort of mentor today. We're going to walk through this concept together, what we're calling the alchemy of the obstacle, and we'll uncover some of the hidden paths that are actually available to you right now. Okay, let's dive into this. So picture this for a second. You're standing on the side of a rain-slicked highway, your phone battery is completely dead, and your best job interview suit is totally ruined. If you're currently in a spot where it feels like literally everything is going wrong, I want to validate that. It is entirely okay to feel that way. The author of our source material once stood soaking wet on a busy roadside, 40 minutes late for a life-changing interview, getting splashed by massive semi-trucks. At that exact moment, the word opportunity was the absolute furthest thing from their mind. Because let's be real, when you're in the thick of a disaster, it just feels like a disaster. But the science behind what you're actually feeling in those moments is so fascinating. First off, please understand that your initial panic, that flash of anger, the deep frustration, those are not character flaws. They aren't signs of weakness. They are literally just your biology doing its job, reacting to a perceived threat. Evolution hardwired us to see barriers as physical, life-or-death dangers. But here's the thing. What separates the people who ultimately grow from the people who crumble isn't some magical lack of fear. It's what they consciously choose to do the second after that biological alarm bell rings. Which brings us to a super practical daily exercise you can use whenever a setback hits you, big or small. When you feel that biological panic rising up in your chest, consciously run this simple 3-step override. Step 1, pause. Just stop the panic right in its tracks before it spirals. Step 2, take a really deep breath to physically hit reset on your nervous system. And step 3, pivot your perspective by asking yourself a completely different question. You're not ignoring the problem, right? You're just interrupting the panic so the rational higher part of your brain can take the wheel. Now, step 3 is an absolute game changer. Our brain's default victim-oriented mode always wants to ask, why is this happening to me? But instead of doing that, ask yourself this one transformative question. What is this situation asking me to learn? Just let that sit with you for a second. What is this asking me to learn? How does your current setback look when you view it through that specific lens? Once you stop demanding to know why the universe is out to get you, you suddenly open up the mental bandwidth to actually learn from the wreckage. And that tiny, subtle shift, it changes absolutely everything. Suddenly, getting passed over for that promotion isn't some devastating personal rejection anymore. It becomes a clarifying mirror that reflects the skills you just haven't leveled up yet. A failed relationship, it transforms into a literal map of your unexamined behavioral patterns, highlighting exactly where you need to heal. Even a health crisis stops being a betrayal and turns into a brutally honest conversation with a body you might have been putting on the back burner for years. You're turning your pain into a map for personal growth. To really see how powerful this reframing is, let's travel back in time for a breathtaking historical example. Have you ever heard of Mary Anning? She was a 19th century fossil hunter from a profoundly poor family. Every single day, she scoured the treacherous, crumbling cliffs of Lyme Regis in England, risking deadly landslides just to find a few fossils to sell to put food on the table. And she was doing all of this while facing massive societal roadblocks in a scientific field completely dominated by wealthy, privileged gentlemen who thought a woman of her social standing had absolutely no business doing science. By all accounts, her gender and her class were supposed to be insurmountable brick walls. The academic establishment entirely dismissed her. But here is the brilliant part. Because she was excluded, she was completely free to work without their restrictive and, honestly, totally incorrect theoretical baggage. Because she desperately needed money to survive, she had no choice but to get her hands dirty. Her obstacles literally forced her to develop unmatched extraction skills, skills that eventually led her to discover the first complete ichthyosaur skeleton, fundamentally changing our understanding of prehistoric life forever. The key takeaway here is that Mary Anning didn't sit around furiously rattling the handle of the doors that were locked to her. Now, I know it hurts deeply when a door slams shut on a dream you really wanted. We've all been there, acting like a frustrated badger, yanking at a locked handle, utterly convinced we deserve to be let in. But standing there wishing it was a mistake, it changes absolutely nothing. The door is closed, the job is gone, the relationship is over. Staring at the wood and wishing it would magically open is just draining your precious energy. Instead of doing that, you need to build the habit of an opportunity turner. The exact moment a main door closes, step back and pragmatically explore the perimeter. Start checking the windows. Hunt for trapdoors. Look for secret passages hidden in the brush. If they won't let you through the front entrance, figure out how to scale the wall and get onto the roof. This isn't some blind, naive optimism where you pretend everything is fine. No, this is fierce pragmatism, dressed up in adventurous clothing. Let's bring this back to the modern day to see how it plays out. Consider Elena. She was abruptly laid off during a massive tech downturn. And yeah, for the first month, she rightfully allowed herself to feel the intense grief and fear of losing her job. But then, out of pure necessity, she found a trapdoor. She started a tiny newsletter reviewing productivity apps, just a passion project she never had time for before. Fast forward a few months, an executive reading her newsletter offered her a consulting contract. A year later, she's running her own highly successful small agency. Losing her income was awful, but it actually broke the seal on a cage she didn't even realize she was trapped in. Now let me pause and be completely honest with you for a second. Sometimes obstacles just hurt, period, and pretending otherwise is just toxic positivity. Not every single obstacle is going to magically snowball into a gleaming career success or a brand new agency like Elena's. Sometimes setbacks leave real, lasting scars. Sometimes the only victory you get is the quiet realization that you are exhausted, trembling, but somehow still standing at the end of the day. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. This brings us to a beautiful concept that perfectly illustrates this idea of quiet, scarred growth. It's the ancient Japanese art of kintsugi. Maybe you've seen it. It's where broken pottery is carefully glued back together using a special gold-infused lacquer. The radical philosophy behind kintsugi is that the breakage isn't something to hide or be ashamed of. In fact, a repaired, scarred piece is considered far more beautiful and often way more valuable than it ever was before it shattered. The golden scars become its most celebrated feature. This philosophy is captured so perfectly in one of my favorite quotes. We cannot undo the obstacle, but we can choose how to fill the cracks. We can choose to let them catch the light. You can't go back and undo the setback you just experienced. It happened. The bowl shattered. But you have a crucial choice right now. You can sweep the broken pieces under the rug, or you can choose to painstakingly fill your fractures with gold. You can allow those scars to create new value, making you a more resilient, beautifully complex person. And there's a profound social dimension to this too. Our culture puts so much pressure on us to present this curated self, a version of you that is smooth, unbroken, and perpetually fine. But honestly, that just leads to deep, deep isolation. Instead, I want you to use your personal struggles to embrace your vulnerable self. When you're brave enough to look a friend in the eye and admit you've been knocked sideways, the obstacle of pride dissolves. It becomes an opportunity for genuine intimacy. You give other people permission to be real, turning your isolation into a deep, incredibly supportive community. So please remember this absolutely crucial distinction. The obstacle itself is not your enemy. The belief that the obstacle means stop, that is the true enemy. You do not have to be grateful for the pain. Losing a job hurts. Getting rejected stings. Grief hollows you out completely. You don't have to put on a fake smile and pretend you like it. But you absolutely must refuse to let this obstacle have the final word in your story, because you are the one who gets to write the next chapter. The real opportunity lives in your decision to just keep moving forward, no matter what that actually looks like on the ground. Even if you have to squeeze sideways through a narrow gap, even if you literally have to crawl under the thorns, even if you have to step out into the complete unknown without a map or a flashlight. Making that decision to keep going doesn't guarantee instant success. But I promise you, it does guarantee durable wisdom, immense personal growth, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that you turned a solid brick wall into an open door. Looking back at that rain-soaked highway we talked about earlier, with the ruined suit and the dead phone, the realization eventually hit the author that total disaster was actually a profound lesson in resilience. It forcefully pushed them off their comfortable straight path and into a brand new reality where way better unexpected things were waiting. If you are lucky and if you are paying close attention, you just might look back at your current setback years from now and realize that the best thing that ever happened to you came wearing the disguise of a terrible day. So I want to leave you with this final thought as you step away today. As you face your own unexpected detours, the main doors might be locked up tight, but the perimeter is practically begging to be explored. What secret passage will you discover by embracing this current uncertainty with adventurous curiosity? Take a really deep breath, ask yourself what this moment is trying to teach you, and go find your trapdoor. You got this.